In the winter of 1887, Clara Hensley carries a heart as heavy as the Wyoming snow piling high against her cabin. Out here, on the wide, lonely plains, trust is a gamble that can cost you your land, your life, or your soul. She's learned that lesson the hard way after loss broke her world apart. 2 years ago, her husband was taken, and since then, she's built walls around her heart, thick as the log walls of her home. But tonight, as the wind howls and the cold bites deep, a stranger's about to stumble into her life, testing those walls with a mystery that could spark warmth in her frozen world or burn it all down. Clara stands on her porch, 38 years old, her breath puffing white in the bitter dusk. Her hands, rough from chopping wood and mending fences, grip a Winchester rifle, its barrel cold against her fingers. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, sweep the horizon, where the Bighorn Mountains loom like silent giants. 2 years back, a cattle raid stole her husband, Tom, leaving her to fight for this homestead alone. She was a nurse in the Civil War, stitching wounds under cannon fire. But nothing prepared her for the quiet ache of these plains. Her cabin, small and weathered, sits behind her, its chimney trailing smoke into the bruised sky. Inside, a fire flickers, warming a quilt stitch with memories of a life she thought would last. She adjusts her shawl, the wool worn thin, scratching her neck. The air smells of frost and sagebrush, and the silence out here is heavy, broken only by the wind's low moan. She's about to head inside, dreaming of coffee and warmth, when a sound stops her dead. A groan, faint but human, drifts from beyond. Her split-rail fence. Clara's heart kicks like a spooked horse. "That ain't no coyote," she mutters. Her voice low, she hesitates. Her nurse's instincts warring with the caution burned into her by raiders who torched her barn. Last spring, rifle ready, she steps into the snow, her boots sinking deep, crunching with every step. The cold stings her face, but she pushes on, following the sound across the frozen ground. Near the fence, where the plains stretch endless, she finds him, a man slumped against a post, half buried in snow. His wool coat, fine but torn, flaps in the wind. His face is pale, lips blue from the cold, but a silver pocket watch dangles from his vest, its shine catching the last light. Clara kneels, her breath catching. He's no drifter, his boots are polished leather, his hands clean, not calloused like hers. He's half dead, though, and out here, that's trouble she don't need. "I ain't got time for strangers freezin' on my land," she says, her voice gruff but shaking. She's carried wounded men before, through blood and chaos. Slinging his arm over her shoulder, she drags him toward the cabin, his weight heavy against her. Snow swirls around them, the wind screaming like it's got secrets of its own. Inside, the fire crackles, its warmth fighting the chill leaking through the log walls. Clara lays the stranger on a pallet by the hearth, her hands moving fast, checking his pulse, peeling off his soaked coat. The cabin smells of wood smoke, coffee, and the faint tang of lye soap. Shelves hold jars of beans, a tin coffee pot, and that quilt, its faded colors a reminder of Tom's laughter. She lights a kerosene lamp, its soft glow falling on the man's face. He's about 45, with a strong jaw and lines that speak of a life beyond these plains. His fingers clutch the pocket watch, knuckles white, like it's his last tie to the world. Clara's stomach twists. She don't trust strangers, not after the raiders, not after losing everything but this patch of land. Yet her nurse's heart won't let her turn away. His eyes flutter open, gray as a storm, and lock on hers. "Don't let them find me," he whispers, his voice smooth, almost refined, but thick with fear. Clara leans closer, her rifle within reach. "Who's them?" she snaps. "Bandits, lawmen. Speak plain, or I'll haul you back to the snow." He don't answer, just shivers, gripping the watch tighter. She studies him uneasy. That watch, those boots, they scream wealth, maybe danger. She's seen men run from plenty debts, the law, their own ghosts. This one's different, and that sets her nerves on edge. Outside, the wind rattles the shutters, and Clara swears she hears hoofbeats, faint but growing closer. She pulls a blanket over him, stoking the fire higher, its flames dancing wild. The man's breath steadies, but his whisper hangs in the air. You don't know what you've done. Clara stares into the fire, her heart torn. She's spent years keeping the world at arm's length, guarding her land, her pain. So why is she risking everything for a stranger whose secrets could bring trouble or worse to her door? The fire in Clara Hensley's cabin crackles, its warm glow pushing back the cold that creeps through the log walls. She kneels by the stranger, her hands steady as she wraps his frostbitten fingers in a strip of clean cloth torn from an old shirt. His words from moments ago, "You don't know what you've done," echo in her mind, sharp as the Wyoming wind howling outside. Clara's heart thumps, torn between the nurse's instinct that drove her to drag this man from the snow and the fear that his secrets will bring trouble to her door. The kerosene lamp flickers, casting long shadows across his weathered face, and she wonders who he's running from and why she didn't leave him to the cold. Clara stands, brushing her hands on her worn apron, her Winchester rifle propped against the wall within easy reach. The cabin smells of wood smoke, coffee, and the faint must of dried sagebrush she keeps to ward off moths. Shelves hold jars of beans, a tin coffee pot dented from years of use, and a quilt on her bed. It's faded, stitches a map of her life with Tom, her husband, gone 2 years now. She glances at the stranger, his silver pocket watch catching the firelight, its shine out of place in her simple world. His coat, though torn, is fine wool, and his boots, scuffed but polished, hint at a life far from these plains. "Who's chassing you?" she asks, her voice low, edged with suspicion. "Bandits, lawman. I ain't risking my land for a man who keeps secrets." His eyes open, gray as a storm over the bighorns, guarded but piercing. "Men who want what I own," he says, his voice smooth despite the weakness in it. "They'll hurt anyone in their way." Clara steps closer, her shadow falling over him, her braids swinging loose under her shawl. "And what's that got to do with me?" she snaps. "You're eating my last beans, warmin' by my fire. If trouble's comin', I deserve answers." He tries to sit up, wincing as pain shoots through him, and she pushes him back down, her touch firm but careful. "Stay still," she says, her voice softer now. "You're no good to me dead, stranger." He gives his name Elias, no less name, no more to offer. He's about 45, with a strong jaw and lines etched deep, like a man who's carried both wealth and sorrow. His fingers clutch the pocket watch, and Clara spots a faint engraving on it, a woman's name, maybe, worn smooth by years of touch. She don't ask, not yet. Instead, she grabs the tin pot, pouring coffee into a chipped mug. "Drink this," she says, handing it to him, and start talking plain. His fingers brush hers as he takes the mug, and for a heartbeat, the air feels warmer than the fire. Clara pulls back quick, her cheeks flushing, angry at herself. She ain't got time for feelings, not with the memory of raiders still burning in her mind, not with the faint sound of hoof beats she swears she hears beyond the cabin's walls. Elias sips the coffee, his eyes locked on her, studying her like she's a puzzle. "You're a hard woman, Clara Hensley," he says, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "But you didn't let me freeze out there." She snorts, turning to poke at the fire with a stick, sparks rising like tiny stars. "Don't get ideas. I'd save a stray dog, too, if it didn't bite." But his words stir something deep, something she's buried since Tom died. 2 years ago, cattle raiders took her husband, leaving her to defend this homestead against men who'd steal it for a song. She's fought blizzards, wolves, and greedy neighbors, but the loneliness cuts deeper than any knife. Elias's voice, soft and cultured, pulls at that ache, and she hates how it makes her feel seen. She sits across from him, the firelight painting her face in gold and shadow. "You said men are after you," she says, her voice steady. "What do you own that's worth killing for? Gold? Cattle?" Elias hesitates, his fingers tracing the watch. "Power," he says finally, "the kind that shapes these plains." Clara leans forward, her eyes narrowing. "Power don't mean nothin' out here unless it's land or water. Which is it?" He don't answer, just looks at her, his gaze, holding a pain she knows too well. She shifts, uneasy, and shares a piece of herself. Against her better judgment. "I was a nurse in the war," she says, her voice quiet. "Patched up boys who died for less than power. My husband, 2. Trying to keep this land. Don't make me regret pulling you in. Elias's eyes soften, and he nods like he understands. I lost someone, he says, his voice barely above a whisper. She'd want me to keep fighting. He holds the watch tighter, and Clara's chest tightens. She don't want to care. But his pain mirrors hers like a reflection in a still pond. They talk, their words slow and careful, like circling a campfire. He quotes a line of poetry, "The heart is a lonely hunter," and she laughs, sharp and short. "Fancy words for a man half dead in my yard," she says, but her lips twitch, almost a smile. She tells him about the raiders, how they burned her barn, how she's held this land alone. He listens, his eyes never leaving her, and for a moment, the cabin feels less empty. The fire burns low, and Clara adds another log, the wood hissing as it catches. Outside, the wind quiets, and the silence feels wrong, heavy. She tilts her head, listening. A crunch in the snow, then another hoof beats. Slow and deliberate, maybe 3 horses. Her heart races, and she grabs the rifle. Her movements swift. "Elias," she whispers, her voice like iron. "Your trouble's here." She moves to the window, peering through a crack in the shutters. In the moonlight, shadows shift, men on horseback, circling the cabin, their breath steaming in the cold. Elias struggles to sit, fear flashing in his eyes. "They'll kill us both if they find me," he says, his voice urgent. Clara grips the rifle, her hands steady, but her mind a storm. She's fought for this land before, alone with nothing but grit and a gun. But now, with Elias's secrets and those riders closing in, she wonders if her heart, so long guarded, can survive the fight that's coming. Clara Hensley grips her Winchester rifle, her knuckles white, as the hoof beats from outside grow louder, sharp against the quiet Wyoming night. The words she whispered to Elias, "Your trouble's here," still hang in the air, heavy as the snow piling against her cabin. She stands by the window, peering through a crack in the shutters, her heart pounding like a war drum. In the moonlight, 3 riders circle her homestead, their shadows long and menacing on the frozen ground. The fire inside crackles, but its warmth can't touch the chill in her bones. Elias, still weak on the pallet, struggles to sit, his gray eyes wide with fear. Clara's mind races. She's fought for this land before. But now, with this stranger's secrets in her home, the stakes feel higher than ever. She turns from the window, her boots creaking on the cabin's rough floorboards. The room smells of wood smoke and coffee, the tin pot still warm on the shelf. Her quilt, stitched with memories of Tom, lies folded on the bed, a quiet witness to her choices. "Who are they, Elias?" she demands, her voice low but fierce. "And don't give me riddles about power. I need names, reasons now." Elias's face tightens, his hand clutching the silver pocket watch. "They work for a man named Vance," he says, his voice hoarse, "a foreman for a cattle baron. They want what I hold, land deeds, enough to control the water in this valley." Clara's eyes narrow. Land and water out here in 1887 Wyoming. They're worth more than gold, and men kill for less. A shout cuts through the night, rough and commanding. "Hensley, send out the man you're hiding, or we burn this place to ash." Clara's breath catches. She knows that voice. Vance, a hired gun who's been sniffing around homesteads like hers, pushing small settlers off their claims for the baron who pays him. Her land's been eyed before. It's creek a prize in this dry country. She glances at Elias, his fear plain now. "You brought this to my door," she says, her voice like iron. "What's stopping me from handing you over?" Elias meets her gaze, steady despite his pain. "Because you're better than that. Clara, you saved me for a reason." She snorts, but his words hit deep. She's spent 2 years guarding her heart, her land. Since Tom died in a raid not unlike this one. She was a nurse in the Civil War, stitching up boys who begged to live, but she couldn't save her husband. That failure haunts her, and now, with riders outside and Elias's secrets inside, she feels it all over again. She moves to the door, rifle ready, and cracks it open just enough to see. Vance, broad and grizzled, sits on a black horse, his men flanking him, revolvers glinting in the moonlight. "Last chance, Hensley," he bellows. "Give us Hawthorne, or we come and shootin'." Clara freezes. Hawthorne Elias Hawthorne. The name sparks a memory, whispers of a rancher who owns half the valley, richer than God, but missing for weeks. She spins to Elias, her voice a hiss. You're the Hawthorne? The man who could buy this territory twice over. Elias nods, his face grim. I didn't tell you because I needed to trust you first. Clara's mind reels. She's been sheltering the wealthiest man in Wyoming. A man whose land deeds could make or break every homesteader from here to the Bighorns. And now, Vance wants those deeds to give his baron control of the valley's water, crushing folks like her. Her heart says hand him over, save her land, her life. But her nurse's soul, the part that still believes in doing right, fights back. She slams the door shut, barring it with a heavy plank. Stay down, she tells Elias, her voice steady despite the fear clawing her chest. She grabs a small tin box from under her bed, a hiding spot for her own claim papers, and pulls out a map she's kept secret, one showing her creek's path to the valley. Vance, she shouts through the door, you want Hawthorne's deeds? I got 'em, hidden where you'll never find 'em. Burn this place. And they burn too. The riders go quiet, and Clara's heart pounds. It's a bluff she don't have the deeds, but she knows men like Vance. Greed makes them pause. Vance laughs, cold and mean. You're playing a dangerous game, woman. Where's the deeds? Clara steps to the window, rifle raised, her voice carrying over the wind. Back off, or I light a match. You'll get nothing but ash. It's a gamble born of her nurse's quick thinking under pressure, but it buys time. Vance curses, his men shifting in their saddles. You got till dawn. He snarls, then we take what's ours. Clara shuts the window, her hands shaking now. She turns to Elias, who's staring at her, awe in his eyes. You didn't have to do that, he says. She glares, her voice sharp. Don't thank me yet, you're telling me everything, or I'll drag you out there myself. Elias nods, his voice low. I'm no thief, Clara. Those deeds I've been hiding and to protect folks like you. The Baron wants to choke the valley's water, starve out the homesteads. I'm fighting to stop him. His words hit like a bullet. He's not just a rich man, he's a man risking his life for justice. For people like her. The twist stuns her. Elias isn't running for himself, he's running to save others. It's a fight she knows, one she's waged alone since Tom died. Her anger softens, replaced by a grudging respect, and something warmer, dangerous. The firelight catches Elias's face, and she sees the man behind the wealth, a man who's lost, like her, but still fights. Why didn't you say so? She asks, her voice quieter now. He smiles, faint but real. Didn't think you'd believe me. She shakes her head, almost smiling back. But the hoofbeats outside remind her dawn's coming, and with it, a choice she can't avoid. Clara checks the rifle's rounds, her hands steady again. The cabin feels smaller now, the walls closing in. Outside, the riders have backed off, but their shadows linger, waiting. She looks at Elias, his watch ticking softly, and feels the weight of her own heart. She stood alone for so long, but now, with this man and his cause, she's part of something bigger. The Wyoming night presses close, cold and unforgiving, and Clara knows this. Stand her bluff. Her courage has changed everything. Dawn will bring answers, or blood, and she ain't sure which scares her more. Clara Hensley slams the cabin window shut, the wooden shutters rattling as Vance's threat, you got till dawn, echoes in her ears. Her rifle rests heavy in her hands, its weight grounding her as she turns to Elias, sprawled on the pallet. By the fire, her voice cuts sharp through the smoky air. You're telling me everything, Hawthorne, or I swear I'll drag you out to Vance myself. The fire crackles, casting shadows on the log walls, but the warmth can't touch the storm in her heart. She's bluffed her way through the night, risking her homestead for a man she barely knows. Now, with dawn creeping closer and riders waiting outside, she needs the truth to decide what's worth fighting for. The cabin smells of wood smoke and coffee, the tin pot still sitting on the shelf beside jars of beans. Her quilt, folded on the bed, seems to watch her, its stitches heavy with memories of Tom, her husband, lost to raiders 2 years ago. Elias struggles to sit, his gray eyes steady despite the pain etched on his face. His silver pocket watch ticks softly, a reminder of secrets he's kept. "I'm no liar, Clara," he says, his voice low but firm. "Those deeds Vance wants there, not just mine. They're for every homesteader in this valley, folks like you, fighting to keep what's theirs." Clara's breath catches. She leans against the wall, rifle still in hand, her mind racing. "You're saying you're some kind of savior?" she asks, her tone sharp but curious. Elias shakes his head, wincing as he shifts. "No savior. Just a man who's seen what happens when barons like Vance's boss take everything. I inherited land too much, maybe, but I've been using it to fight back." He pulls a folded paper from inside his vest, creased and worn, and hands it to her. It's a letter, not a deed, addressed to a homesteader alliance in Cheyenne. Clara scans it, her eyes narrowing at words like water rights and legal claims. Elias explains, his voice steady now. "I've been funding a group to take the barons to court, to stop them from stealing land like yours. That's why Vance wants me dead. Those deeds secure water for your creek, Clara. If he gets them, your homestead's done." The twist hits her like a cold wind. Elias isn't just a rich man running from trouble. He's been risking his life to protect people like her, people the barons would crush. She thinks of Tom, who died defending this land, and her throat tightens. During the Civil War, she nursed soldiers, watching them die for causes bigger than themselves. She failed to save Tom, and that guilt has weighed her down ever since. Now, Elias's fight feels like a mirror to her own, and it stirs something deep, a spark of hope she thought was gone. She hands the letter back, her fingers brushing his, and this time, she don't pull away. The firelight catches his face, and she sees not just wealth but a man who's lost, like her. "Why didn't you tell me from the start?" she asks, softer now. Elias smiles, faint and tired. "Didn't think a woman with a rifle and a grudge would listen." Clara snorts, almost laughing, and the sound feels foreign in her throat. "You ain't wrong," she says, but her eyes linger on him, her walls crumbling just a bit. She moves to the fire, adding a log, the flames flaring bright. "So what now?" she asks. "Vance'll be back at dawn." "I bluffed em, but I can't hold em off forever." Elias's face hardens. "There's a way," he says. "I sent word to a U.S. Marshal before I got here, told him about Vance's baron and their land grabs. If he got my message, helps Komen." Clara stares, her heart lifting, then sinking. "And if he didn't?" she asks. Elias meets her gaze, unflinching. "Then we fight. Together." The word together hangs between them, heavy with meaning. Clara's spent 2 years alone, but now, with Elias, she feels a partnership she ain't ready to name. She checks the rifle's rounds, her hands steady despite the weight of his words. Then, in a move that surprises even her, she pulls the tin box from under her bed, the one with her own claim papers, and hands it to Elias. "If we make it to dawn," she says, "you're signing this land to me, legal and proper. No barons taking it." Elias takes the box, his fingers warm against hers, and nods. "It's a deal, Clara." Their eyes lock, and for a moment, the cabin feels smaller. The air charged with something unspoken, a trust, a bond, maybe more. Outside, the Wyoming night is still, the snow glowing under a rising moon. Clara moves to the window, peering out. The riders are gone, for now, but she knows Vance is waiting, plotting. The fire pops, and she glances back at Elias, his watch ticking like a heartbeat. She's fought alone for so long, carrying guilt and grief like stones. But now, with Elias's truth laid bare, she feels lighter, stronger, ready to face what's coming. Dawn ain't far, and with it comes a reckoning for her land, her heart, and the man who's changed both. Dawn spills over the Wyoming plains, brushing the snow with gold as Clara Hensley stands on her porch, her Winchester rifle heavy in her hands. The weight of a reckoning presses on her, as real as the frost clouding her breath. Inside, Elias Hawthorne leans against the cabin wall, his silver pocket watch ticking like a heartbeat in the quiet. The cabin's wood smoke scent mingles with the faint tang of coffee, its log walls a fortress holding their fragile trust. Clara's eyes sweep the horizon, where the Bighorn Mountains stand like silent sentinels. For 2 years, since Tom's death in a cattle raid, she's fought for this homestead alone, Today, with Elias by her side, she's not alone, and that stirs a hope she's afraid to name. Even as danger rides closer, hoofbeats rumble through the cold, steady, and deliberate. Clara tightens her grip, her heart thumping like a drum. 3 figures emerge from the snow's glare. Vance and his men, their revolvers catching the dawn's light. "Time's up, Hensley," Vance shouts, his voice rough as gravel. "Hand over Hawthorne and his deeds, or we burn this place to the ground." Clara's jaw clenches, her nurse's calm steadying her nerves. She glances at Elias, his gray eyes fierce despite his weakness. He steps onto the porch, his hand brushing hers, a silent promise to stand together. Her quilt, folded inside, seems to watch from the bed, its stitches heavy with Tom's memory. She's faced threats before, but this time, with Elias's secrets, tied to her land, the stakes cut deeper. Before Clara can answer, a new sound cracks the air hooves, fast and heavy, thundering from the east. A lone rider crests the hill, his long coat flapping, a badge gleaming on his chest. A U.S. Marshal, his face weathered as the plains, reins in his horse and levels a shotgun. "Vance," he barks, "you're under arrest for illegal land grabs and attempted murder." Clara's breath catches, her heart soaring. Elias's message, sent before he collapsed in her yard, reached Cheyenne. The marshal pulls papers from his saddlebag, evidence of Vance's barons stealing land across the valley, bullying homesteaders like Clara. "You're done, Vance," the marshal says. The law's caught up. Vance's face twists, his hand twitching toward his revolver. Clara's faster, her rifle snapping up. "Drop it," she says, her voice cold as the Wyoming snow. The marshal's shotgun backs her up, and Vance's men hesitate, their eyes darting. Outnumbered, Vance curses, tossing his gun to the ground, his men following. The marshal binds their wrists, promising a trial in Cheyenne. "This valley's for homesteaders, not barons," he says, glancing at Clara. She lowers her rifle, her hands trembling now, the weight of the night lifting like fog. The danger's past, but her heart still races, caught between relief and something softer. Stirred by Elias's steady presence. As the marshal leads Vance away, Elias pulls a paper from his vest, not his deeds, but Clara's, signed to secure her homestead forever. "This is yours," he says, his voice warm. "No one can take your land now." Clara takes it, her fingers brushing his, and the touch lingers, sparking a warmth she hasn't felt since Tom. Elias hands her his pocket. "Watch, it's silver worn smooth." The engraving Emma gleams clear, a name from his past, a loss that mirrors her own. "Keep time for me," he says, his smile bittersweet, eyes holding hers. Clara's throat tightens. She wants to ask him to stay, but his fight against the barons calls him on. He mounts a horse from her stable, tips his hat, and rides. Into the sunrise, a lone figure fading against the vast plains. Clara stands alone, the watch heavy in her hand, its ticking a quiet echo of her heart. She thinks system, thinks of the Johnson County War, a real clash in 1892 between homesteaders and cattle barons over land and water rights. Just a few years away, Elias's stand, and hers, feels like a spark of that fight, a battle for justice that shaped Wyoming's history. Her homestead is safe, but her heart aches, not just for Tom, but for Elias, who broke through her walls and left her stronger, yet longing. The cabin door creaks behind her, the quilt inside a reminder.